Hello everyone, this is Charlotte, and there's a podcast called Chatting in Cars. I talk about random topics while I drive to work, and I swear at people. I like doing that. Some days I don't like doing that, but today I do like doing it. Right, there is a disclaimer to start this podcast because I do talk about sensitive topics, and I do swear a lot. If you don't like hearing people swear, I don't use the full spectrum of swearing. I don't give a shit at this point. I find that there's the weird double standards. We're allowed to use some words but not other words, so I just find it weird. If you don't want to hear swearing, don't listen. I'm not going to make you listen. It's not my job to make you think for yourself. That's a you job. So, change the channel if you don't like it. The topic for today is one that is very close to my heart. Royalty. Funny enough at this point, because I don't know if it's meant in irony at this point. Like, when you think about royalty, it's meant to be some glorified situation. A small group of people that are meant to set the example. I say set the example. Historically speaking, it's been a bit iffy. If you look at particularly the British monarchy. I'm not sure about the rest of the European monarchies. There are a shit ton of them, particularly because they all came from this one relationship, and they just sort of spread because they intermarried into each other. But you know, ideally, if you're going to be like a king or queen, you should be doing what's best for your people. You know, you think about it, you're meant to be the leader, the ultimate leader. I mean, given my sort of cultural heritage, it comes from the clan chief, who is meant to direct operations and make sure everybody's okay and fed and stuff like that. There is some prestige in it, because, you know, you've got to be able to control everyone, and you've got to make sure that you're doing the right thing so that it encourages the group to survive and to grow and to flourish. That's coming from like a Viking kind of heritage, you know, Irish heritage. But for the most part, you're meant to lead and look after your people. It's becoming the ultimate father or mother figure to the people, is how I see it. I don't understand why people have taken it the wrong way, where it's now just wealth hoarding and updoots. I find it is a perverse version of it, which feeds on vanity. So that kind of sets the tone for this discussion right now. Historically speaking, we've had a lot of odd kind of leaders, because, you know, people want to take the lead and want to have control of the situation, and it's in some sense a dictatorial situation as well, a dictatorship, depending on what kind of a leader they were. You've got all kinds of kings and queens that did good and did bad. I'm thinking like, I mean, it's always been a mix. No one is outright evil. No one is outright good. It's always been a mix. You know, it's dependent on what's going on at the time as well. And factors like, sorry, I'm going through like a construction area where someone's deciding to do 40, but I've got someone who wants to do 50 up my ass. Get off my ass, dude. It's dependent on the norms and values that are around at the time. If you go back to like Henry VIII sort of thing, and I'm talking about British history at this point because I have some knowledge of other people's monarchies and dynasties and things like that, but I've not got it in depth because I didn't come from that particular perspective. I've not got an Eastern mindset, for example, so I wouldn't understand sort of the Han dynasty and all that kind of, not the Han, the Sung dynasty, you know, all the Asian dynasties. I come from a westernized viewpoint, so my viewpoint of monarchy is quite biased. But I have noticed there are regularities across the board that a lot of people sort of, you know, pick and choose, and there are commonalities. So this is what I'm going with. You're gonna have to forgive me, my brain's still frazzled, and I've had like 4 coffees, so I'm still not there. It's Thursday. Let me go. I'm still sick. But you know, what is the ideal of monarchy is to set the example, to guide the people to do the right thing, or what is perceived to be the right thing. When we find anomalies in that situation based on an exploitation of power and position, people get the shits, because we've given you all this prestige and money and position. It's like, why are you fucking up? You know, traditionally through the British monarchy, for example, they're meant to reign by the divine right of kings or queens. I'm assuming it's not an engendered entity really. That's saying, you know, come on, dude. Come on. In an esoteric sort of sense, divinest sense, that the universe or you know, the divine has stepped in and said, this person is important enough to lead. They may have the skills and mindset to be able to look after people enough at a high enough level. And we do create these hierarchies. Although, you know, anything like communism is assuming to try and get rid of the hierarchies, but they never do anyway, because you still got oligarchs and things like that. Oligarchs, oligarchs, I don't know what the fuck they are. Either way, they're hypocritical. So, they still create these hierarchies where this person is meant to be like the ultimate father figure, mother figure that looks after the people who may be undereducated, may not have the same access to resources, but they are general caretakers of the population. This has been taken out of their hands somewhat with the concepts like the Magna Carta. That was created because you had, I think it was Charles the First, for example. I think it was Charles the First. It might have been Charles the Second. No, Charles the First got beheaded. Charles the Second came back, and they put him back on the throne because Cromwell beheaded the first one. So we made a mistake. Whoops. But did you though? Because he was a tyrant at the time. They felt bad. It was like, I feel bad. Can we just replace him with your son? I was like, not really. But you know, the Magna Carta was created to ensure that these people put in positions of power and privilege were not absolute tyrannical, you know, demons, you know, that exploited their people and caused just hoarding of wealth and power and control, and they worked against their own people, sort of thing. Under the guise that, you know, the divine put me here, so I'm allowed to because I'm me. I'm a representative of the divine. Now, I've always kept the mindset that if you're working for the divine, it shouldn't in any way be derogative towards your own people or anyone's fucking people, to be honest. If you look at the 4 principles I push forward for what the purpose of life is, it's to look after the earth, it's to look after animals, to look after each other, and then to look after you. So you're supposed to put others first before you, and everybody's meant to be doing it. If you put others first before you, then everybody gets looked over Freudian slip, looked after in sort of, you know, by proxy situations. Like you shouldn't have to realistically put a lot of attention into looking after yourself, because someone else will look after you too. Sort of, and it forms connections and you know, cohesion amongst the community. You should be looking to promote growth through working together and inclusivity and tolerance. That's what you're supposed to be doing. That's how you grow a population in a healthy way. It's only with wars and famines and all these horrible situations, murder and violence, that your population gets fucked up. If we were really listening to our survival skills, we would work cohesively. There is some element of competition when it comes to finding a mate, for example, in biology and animalistic kind of aspects of the human condition. But it shouldn't be so much that, you know, completely annihilate your own fucking people, which seems to be happening quite regularly at this point with all the wars and shit going on. You're sitting there going, this isn't conducive to our species. Penguins have a better grasp on community harmony at this point. No one's killing each other as a penguin. The fairy penguins are like wreaking havoc on the fucking Galapagos penguins or whatever the fuck, emperor penguins. Bastards. But it's you know, and as leaders, I mean, they are a form of leaders. You do get alternative forms of leaders now. You get political, and you get sort of divine representatives, religious leaders. You get, you know, monarchy leaders as well. There's lots of different forms of leaders at this point. But as leaders taking the lead, there should be a certain level of benevolence and care when it comes to looking after the people. At this point, we're seeing a lot of rich people who are claiming to be leaders, but also exploiting their people to enrich their own sort of bank accounts and hide their sort of cloak and dagger antics, which have put them in positions of power. And it's all to the detriment of their people. They're not doing the jobs that they were meant to do, while they were put on this earth to do. I mean, if the universe gives you an opportunity to look after someone, to ensure that it promotes a sense of growth in the population, you should do it the right fucking way. The downside of that is you get shat on. With, you know, they do say with certain privileges comes responsibility, and that's absolutely true. For example, I'm put in a position where I need to lead all my kids. In the class, it might be like 30 at a time, it might be 60 at a time if we're going the illegal way, because, you know, we just can't find extra staff. So you can take 2 classes. Yeah. Okay, let's go. Legally, I'm only supposed to have about 30, but some days we just don't have the extra staff, so let's be realistic. Needs must when the devil shits in your kettle. We keep going. Thank you, Blackadder. I love that guy. Anyway, you know, you're looking after your kids, and it's almost it's a surrogate parental position as well, because you want to make sure that these kids are looked after. I mean, I'm not saying you should infantilize your populations, because it would just, you know, promote incompetence, because everybody will say, I can't do it, so I won't do it. You lead, you take the blame, you take the hit. If I fuck up, you're in charge. I get duty of care at this point because I know the kids are young. In a legal stance, I have duty of care, because if anything goes off, I'm meant to be the grown-up in the room that takes the hit. So I'm meant to be directing operations to make sure that these kids don't fuck up and don't hurt themselves, that their development is pushed forward, that they're nurtured, and all the resources they need to, you know, promote their own educational growth is there. That's my job. That's the duty of care. I mean, you also take on extra roles, like, as I said before in the other podcasts, you take on a mother figure. You're looking at the socio-emotional kind of things. You're looking at the psychological issues they might have, what they're bringing in from the outside world and into your so-called population of the classroom. You need to consider that. So if you become, for example, Britain is like a multicultural, multi-faith nation. You can't avoid that. We've got so many migrations. Originally, I think it was Celt pagan, or something like that. It was, if you go way back Neolithic wise, it was pagan. But with the, you know, transfer of people and the movement, and everybody's coming over and looking for work, or looking for a new life, or a different way of looking at things, you get a mass population of mixed cultures and faiths. So you've got a lot of influence there. So as a leader of that particular group of people, you need to be mindful, yes, there are lots of different peoples bringing their own different cultures, and they need to be looked after the same kind of way. I wouldn't say emulate the countries they come from, because why would they move to a different country? If they liked it so much, they would stay, right? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But you still take care of them as you would any one of your own people. These are maybe the version of adopted kids. So you take them on as you would your own kids. You still look after them. You want them to be healthy, clean, fed, and looked after. You take their socio-emotional aspect into a point as well. No one wants to be left out. You promote inclusivity and tolerance and peaceful, you know, attitudes towards each other. When Charles, and I refuse to call him king, but when Charles stood up and said he wants to be a leader of multi-faiths, I'm like, okay, so that makes sense, because there are a lot of faiths in that country. I don't understand why they pushed him to promote one in particular. I mean, what if that's not his faith at all? He just happens to be able to represent it on a platform. Isn't that just sort of heresy? Why is that thing heresy? I think Warhammer. Heresy! No! For the Emperor! No, but at the same time, wouldn't that be heretical? If you're saying, I'm representing this person or this entity, in a rather bigoted way, to be honest, because it says I'm right and you're wrong. But at the same, like, I think he's trying to tread the line between tolerance and still being able to represent one group of people. You had like Henry VIII that just went, fuck this, and I'm making my own religion. I say my own religion, but it was derivative of Christianity anyway. It was Catholic at the time with the Henry VIII. There were different reasons, and most people say it was because they wouldn't allow him to get divorced from, I can't remember which one. I want to say Catherine Parr, but I could be wrong. He wanted to get divorced from someone, supposedly. And so the Catholic Church said, no, we don't do divorce. Strangely enough, we do beheadings. We don't do divorce. Wait, isn't that just murder? And, you know, he went, oh, fuck this, I'll make my own. And so he started supporting Protestantism. Is that stutter, or is that my brain fried? I don't know. Protestantism. Which is apparently more open when it comes to divorce. I think it was called the Reformation. Oh, my brain's fried. I haven't looked at that time period in so fucking long, that's why. I was like, it was concrete at one point, it's now frazzled. left it too long. But it completely took what was meant to be core belief. Yes, I am aware I have eyes. I hate that noise. You're getting way too close. I fucking am not. Stop it. You're panicking. Religion and belief systems in that time period were so concrete that people were dobbing each other in as heretics and things like that, and they were getting massacred. Catholics getting burned, Protestants getting burned based on the idea that they didn't agree with one person or their approach to what religion should be. I don't agree with that shit. Like I've said before, that any sort of religion or belief system that promotes the desolation of entire species probably isn't the one you want to back, or promotes genocide or persecution for beliefs is probably not the one you want to support. It doesn't really sit well with the divine purpose of survival and making shit work and creation and constructivism. It just seems odd to me. I could be wrong. But things that were meant to be so solid and show of faith and conviction and things, he just threw out the window because it was inconvenient for him getting divorced, which caused complete uproar. I think after Henry VIII died, Mary took over and she went back to Catholicism. And then after Mary died, she went. Elizabeth I went after. Motorbike. All right, enough. But Elizabeth I went back to Protestantism, and it was just this back and forth of belief systems, which you sit there and wonder, why? What representative of the faith is it that you need to be so stuck in your ways or mindset that only this one matters and fuck everyone else? They say it's conviction. I don't know, man. It just sounds like bigotry to me. Ultimately, it's putting human ego saying I'm right, which just stinks of arrogance. It's like, you're not right. No one is right. No one knows what's right until we get right to the end and the divine steps in and goes, hey, guess what? You're all wrong. Ah, shit. But ultimately, the divine has the understanding that we don't know all because they didn't design us to know all. So I bet they'd be very fucking forgiving at the end. So I wouldn't stress too much. It's just like, well, you're only human. It's like, yes, you created me. I'm taking you up on that loophole. It's okay to be wrong. Right. I mean, so in 3D, people get so hooked on how things have to be, and it's an extension of ego. And we have to perform this way, we have to believe this thing. But I agree with Charles in that, you need to be a considerate of multi-faiths, because there are multi-faiths. Everybody has their own unique fingerprint of belief systems and experiences which have created these beliefs or these, existential realities, if you want to go that way. So it would make sense to understand that you need to be open-minded and have a multi-view of what could be. You don't have to necessarily believe it yourself, but you do need to preach tolerance. So that was a good sign of the current monarchy, I say. Although people are still kicking up at faith. I've signed up to one page which is Wales for something, like as in the country Wales. And they, I thought it was funny. The other day they put up a meme saying Britain is Christian and always will be and always has been. I was sitting there going, first of all, motherfucker, you are completely denying all the pagans, the Wiccans, everything that came before this Christianity mindset, which stems from the Middle East, quite frankly. When Jesus was a Jew from fucking Nazareth in the Middle East, I was in there going, no. That's an incredibly bigoted thing to say. And our adoption of the Christian, like Church of England stuff, comes from fucking Rome. It's Italy. It's like, it stems from derivative of Catholic faith. So it's like, it's this bigoted mindset that I just don't understand. People tend to want to promote. It's like, did you actually backtrack and check where the fuck this so-called British religion is? And to be honest, these days it's relevant. There's so many different people, different mindsets, different belief systems existing in that tiny little landform compared to Australia that, to start picking fights amongst anyone would be a stupid idea. There's just not enough room to have these fucking fights. It's atrocities will result. I don't understand why they would do that. But anyway, I went off on a tangent there. At the moment, I'm watching Israelis against Palestinians because of the Gaza Strip thing, and I'm sitting there going, I won't take a position because I would prefer to remain neutral on that. I don't. War shouldn't be happening at all, regardless of whichever way you've taken it, whatever side you've taken it. I don't agree with it at all. It's a failure of leadership. You are risking your own people to say that you're right. That's as far as I'm going to say about it. I think it's stupid. It's counterintuitive to any kind of population growth or society, stability. It's stupid. It's stupid. And I mean, I might have taken sides with like Ukraine and Russia at this point. I took Ukraine's side because that was more politically based, and it was a case of someone getting picked on and someone being arrogant and someone finally punching back. And I'm like, don't get arrogant then. It's like, so really it was picking a side of not being an arrogant shit over any kind of political religious base. It's like, just don't be an asshole. You are an asshole. This is a consequence. Whereas other wars, there's a joint effort of being an asshole, which I can't support. So I'm just like, no. There's atrocities on both sides of this fucking equation. I can't stick up for anyone. Ethically speaking, it's like, you're all wrong. So it's like, it doesn't make sense. I feel very, Solomon cutting up the baby. Do you ever read that Bible story where it's like two chicks bringing like a baby to Solomon? I think it was Solomon. And that's how we proved how smart he was. Both of them claimed it was their baby. One of them would have been right because you would have noticed that birth stretch marks or anything, makes sense. Show me your tummy. But at the same time, neither would say that it wasn't. So he said, look, I'll just cut it up. I'll cut it in half and you can have half each. And that's how he won the argument, or whoever's kid it was won the argument, because one of the women said, who I think was the actual mother, said rather than kill the baby, just give it to her because it's easier this way. It makes the baby survive. And then she got the baby because it showed that she had that it was made more sense to keep the baby alive, and it was probably hers because she actually cared for it. So that was the one way of solving a problem. So if we did that with Gaza Strip, it's like, first of all, I still think you fuckers are meant to be sharing that land strip like Jerusalem, which should be shared as well. It's a common ground. It's a neutral zone. It's a holy zone. Why are you fighting over it? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, I'm not going into that because I just think it's weird. Maybe you can't split it directly. You can't create two zones, but you could create a coexistence, which is what it should be in the first place. Both religions promote peaceable means and interactions, but I don't know why they're not doing it now. It seems odd. And I feel that there's an extra factor in there somewhere. Maybe it's to do with money or something. I don't know. There's an anomaly that's not promoting cohesion, and it is odd to me. There's always an extra in there, is that we're just not seeing it. But I can't see it myself, so I'm just going to leave it there. Anyway, royalty. So rather than crack the shits about that, I'm going to crack the shits about royalty. So what is the job of royalty? Is to promote cohesion amongst the population and to lead and to protect. You're like a guardian angel. You're the representative of the divine on earth as a bridge to look after people. So when they fuck up like creepy Uncle Andrew did, people get a bit narky and tend to question their position on this. So what are you actually given all this privilege and shit for? And we need to be mindful of that money does create monsters. It's quietly covered up as much as it could possibly be out of court. I don't think money compensates for being treated like that, to be honest. I think it should be eye for an eye, but apparently we're not allowed to think that way. So the compensation didn't match the treatment as far as I'm concerned, because this person will not learn from not experiencing the same experience. They'll just think, oh, if it happens again, I'll just buy my way out. So that doesn't sit right with me. I'm sitting there going, if you cut someone's hand off out of anger or some kind of weird fucked up greed or rage or something like that, you too should have your hand cut off. I don't know where that comes from. It's probably like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, some shit like that. It's like, yo, cut your fucking hand off. Kevin Costner, you're a legend. But at the same time, they won't know what it feels like to have their hand cut off unless it's done to them. Things have to be even. We're looking for balance here. And maybe if they cut their hand off, maybe they'll think twice about doing it again. Especially when they've only got one arm to do it with. You can't just say, yes, I've still got two hands, but I've got enough money to buy myself out of this. It's immoral. To me, it's not even. This other person might have money, but they're still missing a fucking hand. So it's like, hey, I'll buy you a robot hand. Tempting. But, it doesn't match up. It doesn't seem right. And some people say, eye for an eye makes everyone blind. I'm sitting there going, the thing is, if you've lost it yourself, you're meant to hesitate and think about what you're actually doing. It's not a case of just keep amping it up and fucking people over. You're meant to stop at the lost your own eye and gone, hey, this isn't nice. So we won't do it again. People go too far because they get ego involved. I have a problem right now with the royal family because now that the Queen's died, it seems the moral backbone's gone. I mean, she could have been anyone behind that mask and facade of PR stunts. But what she represented was the steadfast, clean-cut, plodding on consistency, which everybody sort of admired, which was post-war stability, which carried on through 60s, 70s, all the way up. And she's done it so long, so she became a familiar figurehead, and a protective one at that. She was always in with the people and looking after them and stuff like that. Going on walkabouts and checking they're right. Now, you could say it was just like a really rich person, and that comes with its own problems of privilege and entitlement and stuff like that. You could go that way in economic sense. But compared to the royals these days, I see it's all about popularity. It's celebrity now. It's not the purpose-built, look after the people, make sure they're all right, and keep the system running to ensure that everybody's got a job or food or anything like that. It's a case of who's wearing what today, or who's bitching about someone else, or it's like, this is bullshit. Like, I've watched British politics as well, and I've sat there and watched them in Parliament, and in this position where they're meant to be passing bills for the betterment of our culture and our society and our community, they're sitting there slagging each other off over someone's having a bumper sticker supporting something on someone's wife's car. I'm sitting there going, what the fuck has this got to do with politics at all? Well, it shows an allegiance. Who gives a fuck? If you have any kind of independent thinking or mindset, this bumper sticker would mean nothing. What has this got to do with passing bills that help my people, you asshole? It's like, what the fuck? And they'd rather just sit there tit for tat bitching at each other than actually do any fucking work. It annoys the shit out of me. I was sitting there going, this can't have existed this long in this format and everyone been fine with it. And in that case, if this was a case of, maybe they've just become too comfortable in it. Like with the Magna Carta, you can't have someone who's a king saying, what the fuck are you talking about, get on with your job, because they feel protected from any kind of intervention that way, because ultimately the king or the queen would get the ultimate say in the end. Otherwise he just dissolves the fucking government. But at the same time, it's like they just become too... It's menial shit. It's not anything that's getting anywhere anymore. It's just arguing. And they're just taking pay. They're on the clock. And so they'll drag it out and bitch about random shit. It's got nothing to do with fixing anything anymore. So I get pissed off with that. So it's both sides of the coin have become... It's either, the monarchy with being bitchy little divas, or it's the government being bitchy little divas and pretending to work. It's like, everyone's just going, you give them a platform and enough money, they just turn into bitchy little divas. It's like, get the fuck on with your job. You pull that shit in anything like a school, you get your ass handed, you get fired. Can you imagine like a teacher in the classroom just sitting there as a platform, rather than actually teaching kids or look after them, but sitting there just slagging off other teachers the whole fucking day? It's like, you're fired. No, we're here to teach, we're here to work. You want to slag off other people? Fuck off home. This is not part of the job. This is a lack of professionalism as well. And you've got that person in the parliament, and I'm not exactly clued in with the whole workings of parliament, obviously, because I've not taken that, step towards that kind of education. But at the same time, you've got the person that sits in the chair and directs traffic, and they're sitting there allowing this shit. I'm going, what kind of mediator are you that you will just waste everyone's fucking time with irrelevant shit? But he's getting paid, or she's getting paid as well. So it's like, right. So, there's certain lack of faith in, leadership in that way. So even if we decided to just abolish the government, is that Dennis? Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have to get that one tested. No, no offense. I'm sitting there watching the way he's walking and stuff like that. Strong ASD traits. Yeah. Anyway, but it's bullshit. If you abolish the government, then the monarchy becomes this celebrity status where everything can be hushed up with enough money. Same with the government, actually. Looking at Boris Johnson. So it's like, who do you believe? It's not representing what it's supposed to be in the first place. So we need to go back to some kind of I think we need to go back to some kind of, I say, tribalist kind of clan system where you get voted in because you've proven that you're a strong leader, not because, that's what democracy is meant to be about, that you've proven that you're a strong leader. Even those fuckers are lying through their teeth, relying on fanfare and parades to promote their image, and then lying about what they're gonna do. So it's like, how do we even come across sorting that out? It's such a clusterfuck. Oh, I'm glad I'm not doing it. It's like, I don't want to get involved. I'm just going to stand on the sidelines and act the pragmatist and say, why are you doing that? I don't mind pointing out the shit. I'm sitting there going, if I'm pointing out the shit, usually it's something that's an anomaly. It sounds like criticism, but generally it's just observation. I couldn't fix it if I tried. I don't think I've got enough influence. But at the same time, or the position, or the power, it's like, if we're aware of these anomalies, shouldn't we be trying to fix it? It's like, so to sum up, I've got to go into work. I think I'm teaching music. I don't know. I did U2s yesterday. The purpose of royalty is to help the people. It's meant to be a leadership position. It's meant to be a moral compass. You are given this position and power because you're supposed to lead in a good way that promotes cohesion amongst your people, gives them an exemplar to follow, and, facilitates the growth of the population. Don't just sit there and hoard your fucking money. How much is the estate of Cornwall worth at this point? And there's still got homelessness there. It doesn't make sense. There's a sense of status. It's like, you don't need to do that. Status should be in what your good works and what you do and what you say and what you get on with and how you help your people. Don't give a fuck about the amount of money you got. Use it. It's a tool. I would... anything towards making money off of updates and the egocentric boosting of popularity votes and counting, I find it shallow. It's bullshit. That's not your job. You need to take a more functionalist approach to royalty, for example. Less abstract faff. You're not doing your fucking job. And that's why I miss Philip. I miss Philip because he didn't take shit. He got on with it. And similar. She's fucking on with it. But it's the faff and the, ooh, someone looked at me funny, or Markle's saying stuff, or, ooh, and you're sitting there going, this is just a discredit to your profession, mate. Get the fuck on with it. And everyone's still broke and cold and hungry, so nobody's getting anything out of this shit. So it's like, what the fuck? It's either the government or the royal family, or it's both. And it's like, it's a symbiotic relationship. One can't exist without the other, seemingly. You're worried about tyrants. There's tyrants in both sides of those things. It's weird. So I think you need to get back to the basics of choosing your clan chiefs because they've shown competence, not because they've inherited it, or not because it's a popularity and competition, and everybody said, yeah, I support this person. It's like, what have they practically done? Where's the evidence of them actually achieving anything, though? It's like, yeah, but I know a guy. It's like, don't you give me that nepotism. I don't do cronyism. What have they actually done? Show me the evidence, because we need actual people on the ground at this point. It needs to be a functionalist approach to everything at this point. We're trying to fix stuff. it's no good talking out our ass saying that we want these things, but you know, we're not actually going to reach for them or work towards making them happen. So it's faff. I can't stand faff. Just faffing around. Stop faffing around. Get the job done. Fuck. I'm gonna have to leave it there because otherwise I'm faffing. I hope you have a fantastic Thursday. We've got one more day. It's Freya's day. It's Thor's day today. If you want to feel a bit feisty today, Thor. The day for for breaking illusions and being aware of them, because he got tricked into dressing like a woman and stuff like that. He's got some interesting stories attached to that guy. Have a fantastic Thursday. Friday's day tomorrow, and then back onto the weekend, and we can relax and eat rainbow fruit boxes and shit. Weird hobbies. And I'll hopefully do another podcast later.